So, hello everybody and welcome. Yes, welcome back here at BSN Network. Today we welcome you back here at BSN Network. This is the BSN Network podcast here today. It is Monday, August 31st. Hope everybody's having a good day so far and a good rest of their day yesterday. I know I did. I had a very good weekend. Hopefully you had a good weekend as well. Back to the normal weekday podcast again, Monday through Friday like always. So we're kicking it off today with a ton of sports news, a lot of football news. Then we have the Yankees, Mets, and Islanders. I'm going to talk a little bit about the MLB trade deadline involving the Yankees. Haven't made many moves yet, but today is the deadline. I think 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the deadline. Usually today is when moves are made. You're going to see you're probably going to see from anywhere from the morning to about 4 p.m. moves are going to be made. Usually a lot of moves are made within that final hour. You see like a lot of just like moves that are just like, usually like 50 minutes, maybe like 15, 20 minutes before it ends, like a blockbuster trade or something happens. And that kind of, makes big changes there. But the Yankees are looking for about a rental pitcher, which kind of means a pitcher that can get them through the rest of the season. And then maybe, depending on how he does next season, or maybe just get rid of him. Okay, you did your job, helped us win a couple games, this, and this. A couple names that have been on the market is Mike Clevenger. We've been targeting Kevin Gausman, who we know very well. He used to be a Baltimore Oriole. I've actually seen Kevin Gausman play in person. When I went to an Orioles game 3 years ago, I think, Kevin Gausman was still on them. Or maybe it was 4 years ago, I don't know. But I saw him pitch. It was pretty good. I think he pitched like 7 innings of 2-run ball or whatever. He's still a pretty good pitcher. I think he's on the Braves now. So we're targeting him. But we're not targeting any big superstar, is real what we're trying to get from this. If we get Kevin Gausman, I'll be perfectly fine with Kevin Gausman. If we can get Mike Clevenger, I'll be perfectly fine with Mike Clevenger. That is kind of the deal with the Yankees. As for the other sports news today, we have the Yankees and the Giants scrimmages / the NFL. The Yankees and the Giants had their scrimmages this weekend. The Giants, I'm pretty sure, had theirs on Saturday, and the Jets had theirs on Sunday. So that is big news for that. Obviously we're going to kind of review what happened in the Jets green and white scrimmage and review a little bit of what happened in the Giants scrimmage. Obviously both of those teams are on their way. Yesterday was officially 2 weeks until they started the NFL season. This Thursday marks 1 week until the first NFL game of the season. Should be interesting, so excited about that. So the Jets, Giants coming up first on the topic. Then literally 5 minutes before I started the podcast, I had all my notes ready. Literally 5 minutes before I started the podcast, Leonard Fournette gets released by the Jacksonville Jaguars. An unbelievable move, a move that I was not expecting to happen, a move that if you would have told me that Leonard Fournette would have got released by the Jaguars today, I would have thought you were crazy. It really was. It's a crazy move. It was a crazy move. He gets released. Jaguars get rid of Yannick Ngakoue, and now those are probably their two possibly best players, probably one of their best defenders, maybe only behind Josh Allen, because they lost Calais Campbell to the Ravens. They've already lost Jalen Ramsey and CJ Boye and all them, or AJ Boye and all them. They've already lost them, and now you lose Leonard Fournette. Now you lose Yannick Ngakoue. Now on your defense it's Josh Allen, and your offense is You can't a not reliable Gardner Minshew. You can't rely on Gardner Minshew every single week. It showed. He had the 3 great weeks, was unreliable the rest of the year. So Leonard Fournette and the Jaguars, he gets released. I think he's going to get picked up within the next couple days. I think very well Leonard Fournette could have a home by the next 2-3 days. I think that could very well happen. Yankees, Mets, and Islanders. Also, with that being said, too, Leonard Fournette's a good running back. There's a lot of teams that could use a very good running back. There's a lot of teams out there that could use a very good running back. I mean, and the Jaguars are one of them. I mean, who's the Jaguars' backup running back? I don't even think they took one in the draft. So we'll talk about that coming up later on in the podcast. Then we have the Yankees, Mets, and Islanders, like always, the cap off the podcast. So with all that being said, this is the BSN Arc podcast, and let's get right into it. So Jets green and white practice report. Team returns to different atmosphere at MetLife Stadium. Adam Gase says there were a lot of positive things to come from Sunday's practice. So green and white practice, green and white scrimmage, same thing. They did scrimmage. In the beginning, it's a bunch of drills. I've actually been to one of them before at MetLife Stadium. A couple years ago, I went. It's a scrimmage. So pretty much At first it's practice, like the first hour of it's like practice, and the next 2 hours is like a scrimmage, where they do, scrimmages, just kind of it's almost like a preseason game except against your own team. You'll have the starters in for maybe 1 or 2 drives, then you'll put in the backups, then maybe the starters back in. Things like that. I think you're going to see a lot more of these from teams. Teams don't always do these. Sometimes they actually go and verse up against other teams instead of them or their own teams. I mean, they do scrimmages, but nothing to the extent where they're actually going to their home stadium, where they're actually getting, because this was a literal game. Like, this was literally kept track of score. Usually the scrimmages at their training camp facility or at their training facilities where they're just going against each other. There's really no points that are being counted. These, on the other hand, this is actually like a real game, like I think 10, 15-minute quarters. This is actually like a real game against your own team. So this is like an actual real game. So without the preseason, these are big. And I think it's actually going to help out not only the Jets, but the Giants and other teams who do these scrimmages. It's not just going to help out the Jets. It's not just going to help out the Giants. It's not just going to help out certain teams. It's going to help out every single team because there is no preseason. There is, not enough time. You can't always go off of. And I'm a big person. I like what I see out of training camp, right? Because I like when I hear, okay, this player's doing good at training camp, especially a rookie. Because that means that he comes in here, that he's really playing hard, really doing his thing, doing all that good stuff, right? I especially like when rookies do good at training camp. Now, does that mean they're going to have a good career? Does that mean they're going to be great this season? No. But what I'm trying to say is I like when rookies do good. I like when players in general do good at training camp because you can kind of get a good feel of who's going to do it. If you don't do good at training camp, you're not going to do great in the season. You're really not. If you don't do great in training camp, you're not going to do great in the season. Almost like, for example, like Quinn Williams last season. This year you hear everything about Mekhi Becton. Last year, you didn't hear much about Quinn Williams. Sure enough, he struggled a little bit in his rookie year. Although he did say that he's lost a ton of weight, and he looks like it. I think he's actually lost like 20, 25 pounds. He says that he actually came in a little out of shape last season, and he said he felt like he wasn't able to get to the pass rusher enough. He wasn't able to really, do much because he had so much weight on him. He wasn't able to, do much fast. Like wasn't able to be that fast. He said that he felt like everybody was beating him. Meaning like the line of scrimmage, when they called hike, it felt like everybody was beating him to the punch, and that's why he wasn't able to really get those sacks, those QB pressures. That's why I think he only had like 2.5 sacks last season. For a third overall pick, that is not what you hope and expect. I expected very well. I expected very well 6-7 sacks maybe. I expected very well a very good season out of him. Wasn't able to do. He said he lost a ton of pounds. He says he feels quicker. He says if he could have ran a 40-yard dash again too, like he says he feels like he could have cut a couple seconds off of that. But that's another thing too. Like Quinn Williams didn't really hear of Quinn Williams that much. He struggled a little bit. This year you hear so much about Mekhi Becton. Hopefully he's going to have a good year. You also last year, also this year, you hear a lot about Sam Darnold. You've heard a lot about Sam Darnold the first 3 years. You heard a lot about him in this first year. You heard a lot about him in the second year. You hear a ton about him this year. So this year, everybody thinks he's going to have a great year. That could be possible. Same thing with Jamison Crowder. Everybody's talking highly about Jamison Crowder. I think he'll have a year like he did last year, 6 touchdowns around there, a good slot, a good underneath kind of guy for Sam Darnold to have. He is one of those guys that you hear a lot about training camp, right? So training camp, that's why I take from training camp. If you hear a guy's name, usually he's going to be pretty good. If you don't hear a guy's name, he's not doing it in training camp, because training camp, it's very easy to be good. If you're not doing well in training camp, you're not going to do well in a game. Because training camp is much more easier, I feel like, than a game, right? Because, it's practice. I know you play practice like it's a game, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, if you got to ask me, okay, what's easier to win? A scrimmage against your own defense or a game against the Chiefs? Probably a scrimmage against your own defense or whatever side of the ball you're on. So, I like to take from training camp. I like to see what happens in training camp. But the green and white scrimmages or whatever team you are, green and white scrimmages, blue and white scrimmages, I don't know, whatever other teams are, blue and white's the Giants, green and white's the Jets, whatever scrimmage you are, I like to watch that because it gives me a real tell. It's a game atmosphere in your home stadium against your own team, real quarters, kind of real plays that you're actually going to probably run. And, you're taking it seriously. You're taking it very seriously. I mean, players were celebrating yesterday when they scored a touchdown. I mean, this wasn't no joking around. This is almost like a preseason game. Especially for some of these younger players that have come on, some of the undrafted free agents that have came on, and maybe there's some like Lawrence Kager, a Georgia player we got. He's been a standout at training camp in the receiving corps. Maybe he's trying to earn a spot maybe in the top 4 of that receiving corps. So he's going to try his best, whatever he can do. Maybe he's going to try the best. Now that Mims is injured, now that, you have so many injuries, you don't know what's all going to happen with the whole receiving corps situation. Maybe maybe Lawrence Kager is going to try his best. Especially something like I said, these rookies that don't have a guaranteed spot on this roster. That some of these undrafted players that don't have a guaranteed spot on this roster, they are going to try their best in these green and white scrimmages because this is like a preseason to them. This is literally a preseason to them. This is your version of a preseason, except it's against your own team. And I think you actually might get a little bit more out of it against your own team because your own team knows what's coming, usually sometimes, because you're so used to just playing against them and, hearing stuff like that. And if you could play well against your own team, your own defense, or defense playing against your own offense, that usually means that you can play well against a team that really doesn't know you that well. Like a Chiefs is not very familiar to a Jets team. The last time the Chiefs played the Jets were when Ryan Fitzpatrick was the starting quarterback. That was the Fitzpatrick-Todd Bowles second year after their 10-6, one game out of the wild card position. They came back that next year, finished 5-11. And I remember the Chiefs game we played against them. We got absolutely demolished. And we played against the Chiefs, I think, the next year with McCown as the quarterback, and we ended up winning that game. But also, Alex Smith was still the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs at that time. So you got to realize the Chiefs haven't played against us in a long time. They're not going to know our offense now. But as for if you go on a green and white scrimmage, the defense knows the offense, and the offense knows the defense. So it's pretty much balanced out. So, is it defense? Because the defense knows what's coming too, people. The defense knows what's coming. So even though the offense knows the defense knows what's coming. So, maybe some plays they don't. They might not know all the plays. They might not know every single play that's coming. You might not know every single play that's coming. It's not like every single play they're like, oh, they're doing this. But when the play starts to develop, you might be like, okay, well, this guy's doing this, I know what play this is. So, green and white scrimmages are big. And I base a lot off of the green and white scrimmages because it's almost like the preseason. If I see a rookie do pretty good, or I see a undrafted player, or a player that just got randomly signed, he does bad, I'm like, he's probably going to get released. I think the green and white scrimmage is big, too. It's almost like a tryout for some of these young players. Like Darnold, okay, if he had a bad day, he had a very good game. I know for a fact he threw 3 touchdowns. I think Gore got a touchdown. I know Bell got a receiving touchdown. I know Braxton Berrios got a touchdown as well. So I know there was 3 total touchdowns. I know Darnold threw 2 of them. I'm not sure about the Gore touchdown. Gore might have ran that one in. But now, and that's another thing too. The Jet, or even another player, for example, Dante Moncrief. He just came to the Jets. Right, green and white scrimmage. I don't know if he participated yet in that yesterday because he only got picked up like 2 days ago. I don't know if he would have been like, come to this facility, all that, one day later being a green and white scrimmage. I don't think he played yesterday. But you could do multiple of these. You could very well do another one of these. Maybe not at MetLife Stadium, but at their regular training facility, where Dante Moncrief's going to have to get reps. And he might be one of those guys trying to prove himself. This is a depleted wide receiving core, people. This is a depleted wide receiving core. You can make the argument we have one of the worst receiving cores in all the league. I think very well could have. I know we added Denzel Mims. I know we already have Crowder. I know we added Perryman. But the depth behind them is horrible. I mean, you can make the argument the best player behind our starting receivers is Dante Moncrief. That is not I'm trying to be mean, but Dante Moncrief's no superstar. As you look at some of these teams, they've got quality backups that could very well be starters on some of the teams. So Dante Moncrief could be a guy trying to prove himself. So the green and white scrimmage is big. But Darnold, I thought he looked very well. I thought he looked very good. I thought Darnold looked very good. I think Berrios made some surprising. I think Berrios surprised some people. I think Berrios definitely surprised some people. I think Berrios made a good audition for very well being more of a receiver this season, right? Obviously, he was a punt returner and kick returner last season. I think he only got targeted twice in receiving game. He got that one big play against the Ravens, and they targeted him in the Bengals, got absolutely demolished, dropped the ball. I think they didn't really use him that much in receiving core that much. Now this year they have Chris Hogan, players like that, but you don't really know what's going to happen with them. I think Berrios is making a strong case, and I'm not saying I want him to be. I don't really. So what if he's a backup receiver or a starter, whatever. I think he's making a strong case, and I think he's trying to make a real strong case that he could very well be either a backup or possibly squeak into the starting role. He's a very fast receiver, very fast. That's why he's a kick returner. He's very fast, very, very fast. The one problem is just his route running. He's fast, but can you really translate that into a receiving core? As a kick returner, really all you got to do is just run straight, or a punt returner run straight and maybe make a different moves here and there. And that's revolves speed. Now, as for a receiver, you need to make different cuts, different routes, do different things. It's a different thing. You even saw with Andre Roberts, right? He was mainly a punt returner, kick returner with the Jets. They didn't really utilize him in the receiving core. Yes, he got a couple touchdowns here and there, but it was like if they were at the 10-yard line, they just want to throw it up to him. So I think Berrios is making a very strong case. Darnold looked good. Bell looked good. Bell always looks good in training camp. It's really, I guess, at this point what he can do in the season. Just trying to think of off the top of my head. I know Gore had a touchdown, pretty sure. Berrios, obviously, I was just talking about. Darnold did well. Obviously, just talking about Bell. Defense, I heard yesterday that the defense limited the big play. There wasn't too many plays that were really big, maybe a 30-yard splash or a 40-yard play. They limited the big plays, which is, I love to see that, because I know last season the Jets had some of those big plays, and that they had some of those big plays that they failed to, stop, that they've allowed, and I know it hurt them in games. So I heard that the Jets eliminated the big play, which usually means that secondary is big. Usually the secondary is the one that limit the big plays. The up front, will stop the run in the pass. But once that ball's in the air, it's up to the secondary now to make their moves. So that means that the secondary was pretty solid yesterday. Even though they allowed some touchdowns and stuff, they limited the big play. That's the huge thing. If you're at the 40-yard line and all of a sudden you throw a 40-yard touchdown, that's a big play. So we're able to limit that big play, meaning that the Jets offense had to do everything they can to get into the end zone, which was great news to hear that. That's kind of really all I've heard. I'm going to read a quick article here about everything that went on. It was definitely a very different atmosphere. With the Jets, no fans in attendance. Usually there are fans in attendance for the green and white scrimmage, but not many. Usually it only fills the lower bowl, not even the whole lower bowl. It's usually just a couple thousand show up, maybe about 5,000 maybe show up, or 22,000 or something like that, not much. Show up, and they only fill about not even the lower bowl. They don't even fill the whole lower bowl. It's first come, first serve. Usually you could sit wherever you want. So the Jets, green and white scrimmages are not really used to being that loud anyway, so they were in an empty stadium to begin with. Even if they were fans allowed, it would usually fans at a green and white scrimmage are only filled up to like 20% anyway, just because not many fans come out to that event. It's not like it's going to be a sellout crowd to watch a green and white scrimmage. Now, don't get me wrong, there has been teams that have done it. The Browns last season had a sellout crowd to watch their scrimmage, just because I think, or maybe that was last season, because, all the hype surrounding them, Mayfield coming into his second year, having Beckham now, Landry and them too, Nick Chubb coming off of a good year, all that good stuff, Myles Garrett, all of them. Everybody was so pumped about that. Jets, not so much, I guess. Although the backdrop of Sunday's practice was a vastly changed landscape at MetLife Stadium, the Jets took a step forward this afternoon after turning the ball over 3 times in Wednesday's scrimmage at one Jets drive. Oh, yeah. They struggled. Yeah. I know what they're talking about. On Wednesday, the Jets' offense struggled. That was on Wednesday. The Jets' first-team offense responded with a turnover-free performance as Sam Darnold threw scoring passes to both the running back Le'Veon Bell and wide receiver Chris Hogan. The defense also limited the big play. It plagued them in their previous outing as the team competed at its home in front of tens of thousands of empty seats. To be honest, it's going to be tough, said veteran defensive tackle Steve McClendon, playing in 2020 without fans. For me, it's going to be very tough. This time now, We just have to embrace it and get ready for it. It is what it is, regardless if there are fans in the stadium or not. We would love to have them here. But in order to keep everyone safe, it's the best thing to do. Veteran inside linebacker Avery Williamson said the prospect of playing regular season games in empty stadiums will make the contests feel similar to scrimmages. It was different, but I feel like we have to bring our own energy and go out there and make sure we're on point. Williamson said that's all we can do. It's definitely different though. Here's the whole thing. I've always said this. Fans do bring a lot of the energy. Okay. I don't want that to turn into an excuse for the players though. I don't know if you get where I'm coming from. Comment down below if you do, because I think this is very well. Please comment down below, because I don't want to make this sound like I don't want to make it sound like I think they're making excuses. They're not making excuses. Yeah, I understand. Playing with fans are tough. I understand everything going around is tough right now. I understand. Playing sports during a pandemic is tough. Without fans, it's tough. Without family, friends in the stands, it's tough for these players. Sometimes they, every day, every week, sometimes they have something to play for. Whether it's a family member that's in the stands or whatever, or just a crowd in general that's in the stands, and you want to really show up for them. Now, there's nobody in the stands. Here's my thing. It is what it is, right? It is where we're at right now in this world. It's what we have to go through right now. There is no fans in attendance. That's what it is. I mean, it is what it is. At this point, it is what it is. But what I do not want to happen is I do not want these players to create this as an excuse. And if you go get what I'm saying is if after week 1 and 2, maybe the Jets are 0-2 because we lose to the Bills and the Niners, which I think is very possible. I think the Bills and the Niners are probably going to be 2 losses to start off the first 2 weeks. And then at the post-game interview of that Niners game, they're like, you know what? It's just hard to bring your own energy. Just not enough fans. Just hard to bring your own energy. That is where it turns into an excuse. Okay, I know the fans make a big impact on these players. You're gonna have to deal with it, right? You can't have to be making an excuse. I don't want it to turn into an excuse where they're gonna try to pump in fake crowd noise as much as they can into the stadium so that these players can have a little bit of stuff. But what I'm trying to say is, I get it. Without fans, it's going to be difficult, but you can't start to turn that into an excuse. You can't turn it into the point where, you're just making excuses left and right. Oh, no fans, no, not great, no fans, whatever. You can't do that. Darnold, who was intercepted by rookie Ashton Davis Wednesday, was in fine form most of the day, despite being a fraction off on would be scored to Jameson Crowder, the third single caller, had success hitting Bell out of the backfield on multiple occasions, and had a brilliant back shoulder scoring strike to the veteran back. He ended up scoring on a high note, and extending a play before delivering a rope to Hogan for a touchdown. His best pass might have been a ridiculously accurate toss to wideout Josh Malone up the sideline following a design roll. He has a plan of what to go to, and it's coming out instead of him standing there thinking about what he's going to do. Gaze said of Darnold, it's becoming second nature to him. The end of the last series that we did, the thing that I love is when things got bad, he can make plays. There were a couple times we let a few guys loose. He scrambles outside of the pocket and makes a play and keeps the drive alive. So that, like you said, and that's kind of what I was hoping to hear out of that. I really liked to hear that part of it. He did say, he was making plays. Whether even if he was, and that's the problem. That's been the big problem with Darnold and this offensive line in general. Darnold was a pocket passer, right? Darnold's not a great scrambler. Now, here's the problem with Darnold. He's not great about getting out of the pocket the past first 2 years of his career. He has mixed that in with a bad offensive line, not great coming out of the pocket. That's a recipe for disaster. Not only that, he's okay with getting out of the pocket and have a good offensive line. He should feel more comfortable. He should feel like I could do this and this, not just stand in here and hope I don't get sacked, right? So that's a big thing too. Darnold looked good. This offense, I know on Wednesday really struggled. This offense on Wednesday struggled badly. They threw, I know Darnold had like 3 picks and stuff. They look ugly. This was right after the dispute, too, with Le'Veon Bell, I'm pretty sure, or maybe that was the day with the dispute with Le'Veon Bell. It was bad. It was bad. It was really bad. Actually, as a matter of fact, I could probably actually check here when that was. Okay, yeah, so that was actually Thursday. So, yeah, so it happened on Wednesday, the Bell thing. Yeah, it happened on Wednesday, because on Friday I talked about MLB contending team, Kalen Balaj, and the Yankees, and then today I'm talking about this, and this is Monday. So that was Wednesday. So that was actually the day that Bell got taken out. They ended up throwing 3 interceptions, really struggling on offense. Today they bounced back, turned it around, played well. Rookie running back LaMichael Pirine, who had a 70-plus yard scoring run Wednesday, sustained a ankle injury and will need an MRI. After catching a short pass out of the backfield, Pirine was caught from behind by outside linebacker Frankie Louvu, and the Florida product had his leg caught up underneath him. The Jets practice with 6 healthy bodies at wide receiver. Dante Moncrief has to go through COVID protocols and pass his physical, and Pirine now joins Josh Adams' hamstring on the backfield IL, injury list, whatever. By the way, Kalen Balaj, he's not, I just thought of it now, that COVID protocols and all that. Kalen Balaj is not on the Jets. He's not on the Jets. That move has been broken due to he's failed his physical. He has a hamstring injury, and he failed his physical. So once that hamstring gets healed, he will probably be back on the Jets. But at the moment, he's on the Dolphins, which more than likely will release him. So they don't get Kalen Balaj there. Right now, we're at 6 at the wideout spots, and hopefully we get some of those guys back this week. He said at running back, we're thinning out pretty quick. Hopefully we get Josh sooner than later. We can get back Josh sooner than later. The Jets took to precautionary route with Marcus May and team's drills after veteran safety calf tightened up. May wanted to return to action, but Gaze held him out in the regular season, now 2 weeks away. I thought today was a way better than the last time we had a scrimmage atmosphere. Gaze said, I'm not sure if it's the fact that we were in the stadium with that game feel, but we got a lot of good work today going through TV, timeouts, and crowd noise, trying to figure out what that might be like. The halftime was good. There were a lot of positive things that came out of today. Obviously, I would like to see nobody get hurt. We have quite a few guys injured right now. Hopefully, we start to get a lot of those guys back by the bunches, and we can finish the week off right. One player who did a lot right the past week was Braxton Berrios. I said that earlier on in the podcast. This is a guy that's making a very strong case he could play more receiver this year. The team's primary punt returner often had its number called and made good on his offensive opportunities. Berrios says the entire team is continuing to adjust to the new normal, and Sunday's game, like simulations at MetLife Stadium, was just another step in the process. Like everything this whole year, it's a lot different, Berrios said. It's weird nobody has really played a football game in an empty stadium. It's constant crowd noise that you try to replicate or simulate what it would be like. It's not even close. It's different, and it's something we're adjusting to. It'll be a non-factor come game time. Thank you. All I could say about that is thank you. This makes so much sense. It will be a non-factor come game time. He makes a great point. You can't be making excuses all through the season with the crowd. We're sitting here 0-5, here, I'm going to be a reporter. How do you feel? What about this whole game? Well, obviously, it just stinks. No crowd, no noise to feed off of. Now that's where it gets bad. You can't be making it of an excuse the whole season. You just can't be doing that. So these are kind of just all the news. These are just kind of all the news. Who are receiver in the corner? These are kind of following Sunday's workout. The Jets claimed wideout DJ Montgomery from the Cleveland Browns. They also announced that former Dolphins running back Kalen Balaj will revert back to Miami after he fails physical. Players who did not practice Sunday: Josh Adams hamstring, offensive line or outside linebacker Terrell Basham ankle, wide receiver Lawrence Cager knee. cornerback Pierre Desire, hamstring. Safety Matthias Fairley, hamstring. Offensive lineman Connor McDermott, knee. Wide receiver Denzel Mims, hamstring. Linebacker Patrick Onsuar, knee. Wide receiver Brashad Perryman, knee. Cornerback Brian Poole, dehydration. He's been out for a long time with dehydration. Wide receiver Vincent Smith, core, and defensive lineman Jabari Zuniga, quad. Le'Veon Bell made a nice move on a linebacker Avery Williamson to pry himself open in 7-on-7s. Linebacker Frankie Louvu effectively used a spin move on first-round pick tackle Mekhi Becton to pressure on quarterback Sam Darnold. For Louvu later batted down on a James Morgan pass intended for running back Michael P. Ryan. Safety Bennett Jackson screamed off the edge to stop P. Ryan for no gain. Quarterback Mike White hit wide receiver Braxton Barris in the corner of the end zone for a touchdown. For a score with cornerback Quincy Wilson in coverage. Cornerback Nate Hairston made a pair of pass defenses and nearly came away with an interception. Donald tucked the ball for a keeper on a third down, evading defensive lineman Kyle Phillips to get a first down. That was kind of all that went from Jets practice. Now we move on to a little bit of the Giants news. Alright. So now I'm going to pull up some takeaways from Giants camp. I heard that all went well. I heard that there's a couple players that on the Giants as well that are making big strides, including one receiver that is looking very, very well. That did not really just that has looked very well, to say the very least. So Giants scrimmage, I'm gonna say. If you Google Giants scrimmage, it should come up, right? Okay, so yeah, Giants blue and white scrimmage. So Giants hold inter-squad scrimmage, 7 takeaways. Offensive line struggled. So here's the whole thing with the Giants offensive line. It has been bad for the past couple years. I don't think it's really that much better. I know they got Andrew Thomas, but one guy's not going to make a big difference. Here's my whole deal with the whole offense line situation with the Giants is they still got to build that chemistry, right? You still got to build that chemistry, right? You know, there's a couple new players on our offense line. I know, Andrew Thomas obviously is one of the big new guys. Obviously he got drafted. You're going to have to get used to playing with those players. You know, you're not just going to be like, oh, offense line amazing, week 1, boom, we're the best offensive line in the league. You're going to have to build chemistry. You know, you have to have good chemistry being on an offensive line. Lorenzo Carter dominated. He was a linebacker, third-year linebacker, dominated due to some of the bad things that happened with the offensive line. He was able to really dominate. Good to see that their linebackers and their defense is dominated. I will tell you that for sure. Giants fans want to hear that. Not the offensive line struggles, but they would love to hear that the defense is playing well because they have one of the worst defenses in all of the league, if not the worst. Daniel Jones wasn't sharp. Daniel Jones was not very good. I heard about this the other day. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, like I said. I would go around and, messing around with people, saying, oh, Daniel Jones is bad, Daniel Jones is bad. I'm not going to get over it because it's only a blue and white scrimmage. I'm not going to brag that Darnold had a great green and white scrimmage. I'm just not. So Daniel Jones struggled, but that part of that was probably also because the offensive line was bad, so he probably didn't have enough time in the pocket. The defense dominated, so what can Jones really do? Jones struggled, but, it is what it is. Plenty of running back depth. So this I have heard multiple times. There was plenty of depth at the running back core. There's been a couple running backs that have been really good. Saquon Barkley, Deion Lewis, and Wayne Gallman to Javon Leak. There's a lot to work with. Supposedly all those running backs have looked very good so far in training camp, which is great news for the Giants, being 2 years ago They 2-3 years ago, before they got Barkley, they had one of the worst running back cores in all the league. They were rocking with Laura Leans Darkwa, I think Shane Vreen for a little bit, Rashad Jennings. They were struggling for a little bit there. So they have depth, plenty of depth at running back. In my opinion, they're the second best running back in the league in Saquon Barkley. So that's nothing the Giants have to be worried about. Evan Ingram, Blake Martinez didn't play. Minor issues, they said nothing major, just minor issues. So that is good news for the Giants, especially Blake Martinez. He's probably their best defensive player, I would assume, on paper. Evan Ingram, good offensive player. That could be another reason too. Jones, everything was kind of against him. Bad offensive line, defense was special. Evan Ingram didn't play. What really can you do there? Jones struggled, and that was probably part of it. Graham Gano was automatic. This is great news for the Giants. Graham Gano said that he was amazing. He made pretty much every kick that he could have. I think this is a player that the Giants, I think this whole Algic Rojas situation with the whole hit and run, getting released, I think this actually helps out the Giants. Algic Rojas has struggled. Now they get one of the best kickers in the league when he's on. In Graham Gano. They already know that. Graham Gano made that big kick when they were trying to beat them in the Panthers. He also made that kick, I think, last year or 2 years ago, that 61-yard field goal. So they know Graham Gano very well, so now he's on the Giants. Has looked very good. And Jets, Judge 0-for-1 on challenges. So he challenged, I guess, but he lost as well. So those were 7 takeaways from the Giants scrimmage, and as I said before, is the Jets scrimmage. It's just a scrimmage. So, you can take away a lot of stuff from this. There's a lot of good to take away. You could improve on it. You could, maybe things that you did bad, you could improve. Things that you improved on from the season, you can just keep on improving on that. So that is good news. So from what the sounds of it, the Jets had a better scrimmage than the Giants from what the sounds of it. But the Giants are still getting into the groove, and so are the Jets. So, with all that being said, that is what I got for the Jets and Giants scrimmages. Now we move on to this breaking news on the Leonard Fournette news. So the Jaguars have released Leonard Fournette, released by Jaguars, reportedly fails. So. All right, let me just load up the page here. So coming up next, Leonard Fournette. I'll talk about it. So Leonard Fournette reportedly, and my page isn't working. Interesting. Okay, here we go. I want this. Hold up 1 second. Sorry about this. Okay, now my article's up. Some of these apps, man, they're hard to navigate through sometimes. Alright, so, here we go. So, the Jacksonville Jaguars, Leonard Fournette released by Jaguars after team reportedly fails to find trade. Okay, so this is a big move. So the Jaguars have completely stripped down. Let me tell you kind of what the Jaguars have done within the past couple of months, past couple of years. Jaguars just about 3 years ago was on top of the football. I shouldn't say on top of the football world because they didn't make the Super Bowl. But they made it to the AFC Championship game. Everybody was going crazy. Everybody was like, oh my gosh, Jaguars make it to the AFC Championship game. They beat the Steelers. Then they almost beat, they were up, 13, nothing or something against the Patriots. They ended up losing that game. Blake Bortles had a stud season. Jalen Ramsey, AJ Boye, all those players, Calais Campbell, and Yannick Ngakoue, all these players on that team, Leonard Fournette, all those, TJ Yeldon, all those players. It was an unbelievable team. And now all of a sudden it's all gone stripped down. Blake Bortles is gone. Yannick Ngakoue is gone. Calais Campbell's gone. Jalen Ramsey's gone. AJ Boye is gone. Leonard Fournette's gone. TJ Yeldon's gone. 7 of those key players that was on that team are all gone now. 7 key players. This isn't no 7 players. This is 7 key players. You're talking about when he was in his prime, one of the best defensive linemen in the league in Calais Campbell. You're talking about a guy, Yannick Ngakoue, who's just going straight up. Talking about a guy in Jalen Ramsey who you can make the argument to one of the best secondary guys in the league. Same thing with Boye. So, two of those big players. You lost a lot on defense. You lost a lot on offense. Now you're stuck with Minshew. You're stuck with, okay, Josh Allen, very good defender, but not, I don't know if he's going to be able to really lead this team. Now your running back core is depleted. You had Fournette. Now who do you got now? Right, now that's the big thing. So, and this is the 4th overall pick in 2017, too. This was the 4th overall pick in 2017, and you're just going to let him go. You're just going to let him go. And I know he didn't have a great year last year, but he had a good year. It wasn't amazing. He was good. And now you're just going to go out and just release him. Just blatantly say, goodbye, thanks for playing, see you later. And the reports have came out that they were attempting to trade him, but they couldn't find a trade. So now everything that I said that he could very well find with a team in the next 2-3 days, I didn't actually know they were trying to trade for him. I thought for sure they were just released him. But they tried to trade him. That didn't work. So this is, I think, the key point. I've said this all season. I said this all offseason. I think the Jaguars could very well have the worst record in the league. But I think this is really the turning point. You get rid of Ngakoue. You get rid of Leonard Fournette. You can make an argument those are your top 5 players on the team. And you have a depleted receiving core. Your offense is bad. Defense is bad except Josh Allen. And now, I know you just got Henderson out of Florida. CJ Henderson, I think his name is, out of Florida. The cornerback in the first round. I know you just got that, but you got to really see how he does. So now you got CJ Henderson, Gardner Minshew, and Josh Allen. I know those are all young players that maybe have bright. I think Josh Allen's a bright future out of him, and so does Henderson. Minshew, I don't know so much about. There's rumors that they're going to get rid of Minshew. Obviously when they picked up Minshew, he wasn't supposed to be the starter. But now, the fact that this Jaguars team could very well, this was the Jaguars team, you were sitting here week 5 last season being like, this team's a playoff team. And this team is very well a playoff team. They stunk up the rest of the season. Some people have them going 2-14 this year. That's how bad they really could be. Because they've taken everything and just taking it down. It's almost like if you're getting a new job and you got to take everything out of your office. You just take everything down. Everything down. That is what the Jaguars team is doing. They're just taking everything down. Oh, we'll take our defense down. Let's take some of our offense down. Why don't we take our running back down? Let's take our secondary down. It's amazing. And they don't have a very good coach. They're gonna probably fire him soon, Doug Marrone. Or I don't know if this is big. I think this is a move, to be honest, that I did not foresee coming. If you would have told me that Fournette would have even been if he would have been even attempted to be traded, I would have thought you were crazy. So for Leonard Fournette, released by Jaguars after team reportedly fails to find trade. Jacksonville Jaguars surprisingly cut running back Leonard Fournette on Monday. NFL Network's Ian Rappaport reported that the Jaguars had tried to trade him for months to no avail. The 25-year-old was the number 4 overall pick in 2017 NFL Draft. 20th NFL Draft, and impressed in his rookie campaign, rushing for 1,040 yards and 9 touchdowns in 13 games. It appears the Jaguars have found their offensive centerpiece for the next decade, leaning on him and stout defense on the way to the postseason berth. The Jaguars had the New England Patriots on the ropes in the AFC Championship game in the 2017 season, though they couldn't finish the job. From there, things fell apart, and I said this before. The Jags won just 5-11 in 2018. Fournette appeared in only 8 games, rushing for 439 yards and 5 touchdowns, while injuries were an issue. He was also suspended for the team's December 2nd game against the Indianapolis Colts after getting into a fight against the Buffalo Bills the previous week. Do remember that game. He earned the ire of the NFL Executive Vice President Tom Coughlin in Week 17. Fournette didn't play in the game, but didn't seem particularly interested in being by the sidelines. And the Jaguars official ripped both him and fellow running back T.J. Yeldon for their body language and disinterest. I'm disappointed in the behavior today from T.J. Yeldon and Leonard Fournette, Coughlin told reporters. They were disrespectful, selfish, and their behavior was unbecoming that of a professional football player. The LSU product's weight and conditioning were also reportedly an issue during the 2018 campaign, according to ESPN's Michael DeRocco. That there was mounting frustration inside the organization about the length of Fournette's rehab and the hamstring injury, and at that time away apparently impacted his conditioning. December, Fournette also threatened the Tennessee Titans fan, though he later said the heckler taunted him with racial slurs. Nonetheless, the transgression passed the boiling point of the Jaguars, and the team voided guarantees in the contract, claiming his suspension returned them null. It set up a figure between Fournette and the NFLPA and the Jaguars, and it appeared the player didn't have a future in Jacksonville. The player had a solid year for the Jaguars in 2019, but despite those past issues with the team, rushing for 1,152 yards and 3 scores, he also caught a career-high 76 passes for 522 yards, appearing in 15 games. Fournette was a star at LSU and showed flashes of excellence in his rookie season and in the 2019 campaign. It's hard to imagine he won't be one of the more sought-after free agents on the market following his release. So, you're hearing a lot more about him, which is why I think is actually probably you didn't find a trade for him. You hear a lot of this. I never see this is stuff I never knew about. Like, this is inside stuff. Like, I never knew Coughlin said all that stuff about Fournette. So obviously, this is definitely tough. I think for Fournette. Obviously this is a player that he thought for sure. He could have very well been with his team for his whole career, and now he's pretty much done, to say the very least. With this Jaguars team. So, interesting move, very crazy move. Was not expecting that. But how much time we got left? It's about 46, so we're going to probably hop on to the Yankees games. My camera is almost out of battery, though. So, the Yankees yesterday won 5-2 in the first game, and in the first game they won 8-7 on a crazy walk-off. So, 7-2. 2 outs, and Edwin Diaz comes in. Warm-up. This is a warm-up. You need to get 1 out, and he couldn't get that 1 out. They ended up losing. The Mets lost that game 8-7. Then the Yankees made a bold move, bringing up Sanchez with the bases loaded, 1-1 game, and Sanchez cranks a grand slam. They take the lead they win 5-2 in that game. 5 runs, 7 hits, 1 error. Mets 2 runs, 6 hits, 1 error. I predicted the Yankees to actually win, I think. I didn't really... like I said, I didn't really make a prediction. I kind of forgot to completely make a prediction and stuff like that. DJ LeMahieu went 1 for 4. Voit went 0 for 4. Hicks went 1 for 2 with a walk. Garner went 0 for 1 with a run scored. Frazier went 1 for 3 with a hit and a run. Urshela went 0 for 2 with 2 walks. Talkman went 0 for 2 with a run scored and 2 RBIs. Kratz went 1 for 3. Sanchez went 1 for 1 with a run scored and 4 RBIs. Tyler Wade went 1 for 4 with a run scored and an RBI. He hit a home run. Estrada went 1 for 2. Ford went 0 for 1. Mercer went 0 for 1. David Garcia had an excellent debut, or one of our top prospects in the Yankees organization. David went 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, no earned, no walks, 6 strikeouts. Holder 1 2/3, 2 hits, no earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Sessa 0.1/3, no hits, no earned, no walks, 1 strikeout. Yankees had a huge performances out of those games, and big performances. Great for the Yankees as they were able to win that game. So great news for the Yankees, obviously. Absolutely great news. Those are big momentum games. Like I said, these games can be huge momentum games for these players that are trying to obviously trying to really get ready for this Rays series. This is a big series coming up. The Mets, obviously, same thing. They ended up losing. They really messed this series up. They played today against the Cardinals. They really messed up yesterday. They played today against the Marlins. I actually give the Marlins that win there. They lost yesterday, obviously, those both games, and they played obviously very bad in those 2 games. Very, very bad in those 2 games. 1 for 4. Obviously they scored 7 and 2 runs, but at the end of the day, you got to realize you lose those games because your pitching just blows it like always. Jeff McNeil went 1 for 4 with a run scored. Conforto went 1 for 4 with a run scored and RBI. Dom Smith went 2 for 4 with an RBI. J.D. Davis 0 for 3. Jimenez 0 for 0. Ramos went 0 for 1. Cano went 1 for 3. Alonso 0 for 3. Rosario went 0 for 3 with a run scored. Marisnik went 1 for 3. Sanchez went 0 for 2. Guillermo went 0 for 0 with a walk. Pitching, Lugo went 3 2/3, 4 hits, 1 earned, 2 walks, 7 strikeouts. Shreve went 2 1/3, 2 hits, no earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts. Familio in 1 inning, no hits, no earned, no walk, no strikeout. Dom Smith went 1 inning, 1 hit, 3 earned, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. So the Mets had 6 hits. You're not going to be able to win a game that way. So the Yankees take all those series. I say that with the momentum that's building on this Yankees team, I say they get the win. Here, the Yankees had 7 hits there. I say the Yankees get the win today against the Braves, 7:05 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I say they get the win as they've got a lot of momentum going. They got a ton of momentum here after those games. So the Islanders, I had them winning yesterday. They won yesterday. They take a 3-1 lead. They play tomorrow. 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. They play tomorrow. I'll preview that game tomorrow. Yesterday they won 3-2. The Islanders, they're up 3-1 in the series. They're about to move to in the Eastern Conference semifinals, right? So the Islanders, watch out. They're definitely a team to watch. And I think I am rooting for the Islanders because I talk about New York sports and stuff. The Islanders, if they win this game, if the Islanders win this game, Yes. Yeah, so if the Islanders win this game, they move to the conference semifinals, and if they win that, they go to the Stanley Cup. So the Islanders, if all they got to do is win one more game. They're up 3-1 in the series. They can do this. I know they can. The Islanders have played very, very well, and I say they get the win. Or they got the win yesterday. I'll preview tomorrow's game as well. So with all that being said, this is the BSN podcast, and this is the end of the podcast. So hopefully you all have a good rest of your day. I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.